Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today I want to do a combined video talking about my second quarter of reading in 2026, as well as sharing with you all the books that are currently on my TBR, so all the unread books that I own, both physically and also digitally. So I hope this will be a fun video, kind of a refresh, where you can see where my reading is going so for this year, how I'm doing with keeping up with my TBR. If you have been following this channel for a while, you might know that last year I did a zero TBR project. It wasn't completely successful, but I did manage to read pretty much all of the books I had owned before 2025. So yeah, that's where we're at. Let's start with some reading stats. So first of all, I wanted to update you on my reading goals and just see how I'm doing with that. Those reading goals are twofold. On the one hand, we have 5 series I want to read completely in 2026 as 5 new to me authors I wanted to check out in 2026. And then on the other hand, we have all the books that I had acquired in 2025 and that I wanted to read this year so they don't stay on my TBR for a long time. So the official goal is that I try to read every book before I have owned it for 12 months. And that is kind of the goal, to keep up with the books coming in, to have a quick turnover. So let's start out with the 5 series I wanted to read this year. How are we doing? So the last time we spoke after the first quarter, I had exactly read 0 books for this goal. Now I'm doing a little bit better. I have read 3 books from the list. All 3 of those are in the same series, the Rainwild Chronicles, and I'm currently reading the 4th book, so I'm almost done finishing the first of the 5 series. Considering we are halfway into the year, that is not very promising, and it concerns me greatly, but at least we did some progress in that regard. On the other hand, we have the 5 authors I wanted to try this year. Now, at the first quarter check-in, I had read 1 of those books, and now 1 quarter later, I have added 2 more. So we have now finished 3 out of the 5 new to me authors I wanted to try. I would say we are on track with that, so that's good. If I take all of these reading goals books together, we have 22 books to read in a year. And for the second quarter, I have read 5 out of those 22 books, and so in total we're currently at 6 out of the 22 books, which is not doing super great. This goal is definitely concerning, but we made better progress in the second quarter than we did in the first one, so that is at least something. And as I said, we have 6 books and I'm currently reading the 7th, so we are getting there, but we're nowhere near halfway through with this goal list. Moving over to my owned TBR at the start of 2026, I am doing much better with this goal. I have also 22 books coincidentally on this list, and in the first quarter I had read 9 out of the 22, so I was doing super well with this side of the goals. Now in the second quarter I have only read 3 more, so we're doing much worse in the second quarter, also because I had kind of read all of the early ones already that were due quite early, so I didn't feel the pressure so much with this goal in the second quarter. Now, taken together, that means we have read 12 out of the 22 books on this goal list. So with that, we are definitely doing okay. We have read more than half at the halfway point of the year. So with that one, I am confident that we will be able to do it by the end of the year. Now, looking a little bit closer at this goal of reading books before I have owned them for more than 12 months, we did have to read 2 books in the second quarter that would have reached this limit or were even over. So the 2 books I still needed to read, so they wouldn't be overdue, were the last volume of my Grimm's Fairy Tales. This one is actually already overdue, and spoiler alert, I did not finish reading that in this quarter either. I have so little left, like it's less than 300 pages and it's just the notes, but yeah, somehow I'm having a hard time finishing that. And then the other one was The Just City by Jo Walton, which I did manage to read in time. So as I did say in my quarter 1 wrap up, I will not punish myself if I don't read books within the time I need to read them, and I just will try to really prioritize them. As we can see with the fairy tales, it's not always going super well, but considering how many books I have read within the 12-month frame already this year, I do feel like normally it's not an issue. So if I take the reading goals all together, I have 44 books in total that I want to read this year. Currently, I am at 18 books read from that number, so I am technically 4 books behind on the goals. However, on the bright side, I can say I am halfway through 3 of the other ones. So if I just finish off those, I'm already making up a lot of ground again. So it's not quite so dire. I still think I can turn things around for the rest of the year. For the next part of the stats, I want to go into some monthly numbers. We will look at that a tiny little bit more, and then we can go to the entire TBR and I show you what's been going on. Okay, the first month we're looking at is April. April was a magical readathon month, so in that month I usually have to really adapt my reading to the prompts of the readathon because I have a very challenging calling, so there is not a lot of wiggle room when it comes to that readathon. So for April I had put 4 books on my TBR to read in the month from my goals. Out of those 4, I have managed to start all of them in April, and I finished 3 of the 4 in April. So I did really well with that, and I have since also finished the 4th one. So in the end, all of those 4 books got read in this second quarter. If we look at the April distribution, we can see that most of the books I read in April were new books. Those were 50% of my reading. Then 30% of my reading were the 3 TBR books because I finished 10 books in April. The math was quite easy. And then 10% of my reading is library books and 10% reading was rereads. So we did have a higher number of new books read in the month, but that, as I said, was because of the reading prompts. I really wanted to match those. Then we're moving over to May. May was the Asian readathon, another readathon month I'm always very excited about. And in May, again, I had put 4 books on my TBR from the goals. Out of those 4 books, I started 3 in May and I finished 2. By now, I have started all 4. And I have finished 3 within the second quarter, so with a little bit of a delay. There is 1 book of the bunch I still have not finished. We will look at that in a minute. If we look at the distribution, 43% of my books I read in May were TBR books, so that is still quite a good number. Then 14% were library books, 29% were new books, and 14% were rereads. So I like this distribution. Being around 40 to 50% of the kind of TBR goals books is very good to me. Last but not least, we're looking at June, and June did not quite go as planned. Again, I had put 4 books on my TBR from the goals, and June was really not a successful month with that because I only started 2 of those books in June and I only finished 1. So we still have 3 of those books that are unfinished currently as the second quarter ends with June, but one of them I'm at least currently reading, and with the other 2 I hope to get to them soon. If we look at the distribution of June, we can also see why that happened. So we have the majority of 57% of my reading in June with library books. I had a good time just mood reading library books during my vacation, but again, that took away time to focus on other books in June. Then 29% of my reading were the TBR books and 14% were new books, and I did not reread anything in June. So while I had this feeling that I failed in the second quarter, I think this is mostly because June didn't go so well, but all things considered, I think it was still okay. I would like to pick things up a little bit again in the third quarter when it comes to the reading goals, especially the series reading. So fingers crossed for me that I can focus on that a little bit more in the coming month. Okay, so now we are going to look at the TBR. First of all, I want to show you the stack of physical reads that I got off the TBR in the second quarter, because this does feel quite satisfying still. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. So in no particular order, the books we got off the TBR: The Just City by Jo Walton, The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw, this Korean healing fiction Kleine Wunder in der Mitternachtskonditorei by Lee On-hwa, The Reformatory by Tanana Reeve Ju, Monday Morning by Katie Reichs, Nicht falsch, nur neurodivergent by Charlotte Suhr, and Madonna in a Fur Coat by Sabahattin Ali. Not all of these were like TBR goals books. These are just like the physical books that I owned that I read. So some of these were new, some of them were my birthday gifts, but still they're not on the TBR anymore, and that feels very nice. Okay, now nice feelings aside, let's look at the book that didn't get read yet. Since I have that 12-month goal, I will go through these books now in the order when I bought them, from the oldest on my TBR to the newest. So oldest on my TBR and still unread, as I said, is the third volume of the Grimm's Fairy Tales. This is also the only one that I owned pre-2025, and as I said, it's less than 300 pages left. I have plans to read this in July now. Then the next one that is due in July, at the end of July, is the Dungeon Anarchist's Cookbook. This is the third book in the Dungeon Crawler Call series. Then we have Great Italian Stories. This is a short story collection, and this one is due in August. Next up, we have my Christmas book stack. We have Cheese Sweet Home Volume 11. We have Asunder by Kirsten Hall. We have Weird Sisters and Sorcery by Terry Pratchett. We have Unmasking Autism by Devon Price, and this one came with this free silverfish on it. Very lovely, very, very nice. We have Witches, Bitches, It Girls by Rebecca Endler. And we have The 100 Years War on Palestine by Rashid Khalidi. This one I am halfway through already. So these were all the pre-2026 books, so the 10 books I still need to read before the year is over. And now we're looking at the books that I have acquired in 2026. And the first book that I got and haven't read yet was in a Libro FM sale, and I got Metal from Heaven by August Clark. Then we have the birthday books, and now I'm just so scared of more silverfish. We're gonna get through this. We have Absolution by Jeff Vandermeer, one of the prettiest books I currently own, unread. We have Thistlefoot by Jenna Rose Nethercourt. We have Monstrous Volume 10 by Sana Takeda and Marjorie Liu. We have Slewfoot by Brom, Cat on the Scent by Rita Mae Brown and Sneaky Pie Brown, and Cheese Sweet Home Volume 12 by Konami Kanata. Then another audiobook that I got for free on Libro FM is Mutual Aid by Dean Spade. Then we have some more audiobooks. We have The Maid and the Crocodile by Jordan Ifueko. This is kind of a companion to the Raybearer duology, which I have already read this year, so this one I also want to read soon. Then we have 3 more Dungeon Crawler Call books. We have The Gate of the Feral Gods, The Butcher's Masquerade, and The Eye of the Bedlam Bride by Matt Dinnerman, because I got those in a deal because, you know, the audiobooks are only on Amazon and I do not use Audible anymore. Then I still have left over The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, and this is one that is a bit scary because it is quite long and a classic. Then in another sale that was for trans and non-binary authors, I had gotten Queen Bee by Juno Dawson and So Many Stars by Caro de Robertis on Libro FM again. Then they finally released the short paperback of a book in a series I was waiting for, and that was Oathbound by Tracy Dion. This I'm so excited about. Then my best friend gifted me a book because she went to a book fair and she wanted to bring me something, and that was Frankie. This is a German book by Jochen Gutsch and Maxim Leo. I think there's also a movie, so I'm intrigued to dive into this one. Then we got the one big Libro FM sale that every year happens and destroys my TBR. I got quite a few books. The first one was The View from Down Here by Lucy Webster. Then I got The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling. Then I got Our Hideous Progeny by C.E. McGill. I'm very excited about this one for the fall. I got We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix and Johnny Appleseed by Joshua Whitehead. Again, I'm very excited about this one. Then I got an ebook sequel because I want to finish this duology, and that is Everybody Wants to Rule the World Except Me by Django Wexler. In yet another Libro FM sale, I picked up Human Rights by Juno Dawson. So I already mentioned Queen Bee, and so I have 2 out of the 4 books for the Her Majesty's Royal Coven series already. That is one of the series I want to read this year, so these will definitely get read soon. Then we have the audiobook I'm currently reading, and that is Blood of Dragons by Robin Hobb. Those also went on sale, so I was super lucky with that. And then, as I said, Libro FM did the thing where you get 2 books for 1 credit, and I picked up King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. I started reading S.A. Cosby last year, and it's so good, so addictive. I needed the next one. And then I also got The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow. And those are all the books that are currently on my TBR. I would love to hear what's on your TBR right now, or what's on top of your TBR if you have like a very large one. Do you know how many books you have on your TBR? I would love to know. I'm like very nosy, but you don't have to tell me if you don't want to. But yeah, I hope this was fun and interesting to watch. It was definitely a good like little recap for me to see how the quarter was going and where I might need to adjust a little bit if I want to hit my reading goals. And I think with that, I'm gonna say goodbye. You can also leave me a like, that always makes me very happy. And you can subscribe if you want to see me actually read all of these books. So yeah, have a great day and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!